if you want to put money against an ad, use that piece as your ad, and then it's going to take off.
Yeah. So a couple of things I'd like for your listeners and your followers to think of. Everything in social media was designed around.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Local Marketing Lab, where you get real-world insights from industry pros to help you drive local revenue and local growth. This podcast is brought to you by Evocalize, digital marketing tools powered by local data that automatically work where and when your locations need it most. Learn more at evocalize.com. Well, what's up, and welcome to the Local Marketing Lab. Joining us in the lab today is a guest with over 25 years of experience in the mortgage space. He's a 2-time best-selling author on Amazon, won an entire list of awards, and has helped one of the largest privately held mortgage companies grow to over $16 billion a year in revenue. VP of Business Development at American Financial Network, Jonny Fowler. Thanks for joining us in the lab, my friend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on. I love doing these. I love helping people. And I know what a drudge this can be. So anytime I can ever help anybody with promotion, with any kind of marketing, I'm here for you, man. Whatever you need, let me know.
You heard it. That was the announcement of our brand new podcast, Justin and Jonny, coming out next week. No,
as long as you manage it, I'll be there.
That's great. So, you know, Jonny, one of the things that I really, really, really liked about your background is just how much focus you've had on social media. You've been on tons of podcasts. You fully understand how to promote yourself and get your name out there and leverage these tools that are relatively free, that everybody has access to. So I thought it would be great to bring you on as a guest and kind of pick your brain with regards to local marketing and social media. But before we jump in, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a little bit of insight into your background and how you got to where you are currently.
So I was born in Texarkana, Texas, moved to Houston, Texas when I was 2 years old, and have been here my whole life. I'm on my 4th or 5th passport, been all over this great big round globe, and keep coming back to Houston. I started off life following in my father's footsteps in the oil and gas business. It's Houston, Texas. That's what you did. And then ended up buying my first house, financing my first house in 1994. And when I did that, I was your typical A-paper wage earner, more documentation than anybody else, and just had a horrible time with the system, with how it worked. And we can go more into that if you want, but ended up falling in love with this business. Took some college courses at my local community college that was kind of an adult education thing, and fell in love with this business. So I've been doing it ever since. Started off as a loan officer, ended up as a broker, and then got recruited by a fairly good-sized company. We grew them to, actually at the time, the largest in the country. And then, you know, even through all of the strange times and the rough times in this business, you know, we go through it about every 7 years in this business. I just never have thought of anything else that I would like to do better. I love this business. I love this industry. I love helping people. I love marketing. So continued on with that for 30 years. And I guess 3 months later is where we're at. And I have seen so many tools for us to utilize in this business. And I just try and utilize as much as I can.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you love helping people. I'm of the same ilk. That, you know, I always look at things as like the pie is so massive. There's enough for everybody to go around, especially in this space, because it's like, really, how much are you going to operate outside of your sphere and your kind of your local area, you know? And if you think as a marketing pro, like, you can help all sorts of folks, no matter where they are, learn how to best market their business and best leverage these tools that are available to everybody.
And see, for me, I've always been nationwide. I say always. Since about 1999, I've always been nationwide, 50 states. And I will say at one point in my life, I may have had that scarcity mentality where I've got to, keep this close to the vest. But I'll teach you exactly what I do and how I do it, and how I just won for the 7th year in a row, most connected mortgage professional in the country, and all of those things, because there's a couple of things. And this may get a little bit too rough, so I don't know if you're going to leave it in, cut it out, whatever. But what I figured out is 95% of the world is either lazy or scared. You're only competing against a smaller percentage of 5%. And there is a massive audience out there that needs your help. They need your voice. They need your direction. And I think that's what our job is to help those people.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's jump in. You've had your finger on your pulse of all things kind of social media for years. As I understand it, like you've always been plugged in really, really well, and you've taught thousands of agents, thousands of LOs how to leverage these tools. What are a couple things that you think really move the needle from a local marketing perspective when they're leveraging social?
Being present, having systems, being reliable. And when we're talking specifically about social, it is actually using the word being social in social media. So many people make this massive mistake about thinking social media is a print magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And not knowing how to use it and not knowing how to talk to people. And so many people make a massive mistake about thinking that their job or what they do defines every moment of their life. And my job, what I have decided my job is to teach these people, teach realtors, teach loan officers how to change this mentality. So if you're a real estate agent and you're trying to advertise, well, I can only personally think of a real estate agent once every 6 or 7 years. That's the only time I want to buy or sell a house, unless I'm an investor. So if all you are is a realtor every single day, you're going to annoy me, and I'm going to change that channel. Same thing with a loan officer. And trying to show loan officers, you're not supposed to go out and explain to somebody how a 203KS works. Your job is not to explain to somebody on social media what a DSCR is. Your job is to solve a problem in language that a third grader would understand and do it in a short period of time on social media. And that's what our job is. So that's kind of a roundabout, how I go about teaching. I also, everything that I teach is organic. Everything that I train people on is organic. At one point in time, I was the largest real estate funnel in the country, spending, buttloads. When I say buttloads, way 7 figures on doing paid ads and things like that on social media. And what I've learned is you can get much better execution and penetration with organic. So that's what I do.
Yeah. And if you do it right, you actually find what works on organic. Because right now the algorithms are shifting toward, instead of it being like a media first approach, it's content first. If you create really compelling content that folks find valuable, then the organic, like it'll take off. The algorithms will serve it up to people outside of your typical sphere of influence. And many, many, many more folks will see it. You'll cast your net really, really wide. But if you use that as a signal to then, if you want to put money against an ad, use that piece as your ad, and then it's going to take off.
Yeah. So a couple of things I'd like for your listeners and your followers to think of. Everything in social media was designed around Pavlov's dog theory. So keep that in mind right off the bat, no ifs, ands, or buts. For everything that I do, if you do what I want you to do, I will reward you. For everything that you do that I don't want you to do, I will spank you and I will shorten your audience. The next thing I need you to think about for social media is social media produces nothing theoretically for sale. So I can't go and buy a pair of Facebook jeans. I can't go buy a TikTok car. I can't go buy a YouTube pair of shoes. So the only way any of these forms of social media make any money whatsoever is by selling advertisements.
Yeah.
But they don't sell advertisements on their own platform per se. They sell it on yours. So if your platform has compelling information, great content, great intent, well, then I can sell paid advertisements on your content. So for you, your microphone is very recognizable, just like mine is. So what a great place to sell advertisement to, sure, to anyone else. When somebody says, hey, that podcast sounds great. Well, it's because of the equipment. What a great place to sell ads on a podcast using this equipment, or even selling competing goods. So you have to make the content for them to be able to sell the ads. If you'll keep those two things in mind with social media, your life will be so much easier going forward.
Yeah. So how do you coach your folks on creating content that's going to benefit them as opposed to the channels? Like you talked about how you can't just be a realtor all the time. You can't just be an LO all the time. We had someone talk on one episode about how you want to actually be the mayor. Like you want to try to go around and get to know as many people as your community in your community as possible. Tell their stories on social, access their audiences by sharing their stories to folks. And in doing so, you attract way more people to what you have to say, right? And you're able to amplify your message, cast your net even wider. What are some suggestions you might have for folks who are trying to create content that's compelling, but not necessarily mortgage aligned or real estate aligned?
So there's two things. First of all, whoever told you that on your podcast, kudos to them, because it's one of the systems that I use and I have for years. And we're keeping most of your stuff to where it's local. So think about this, whatever you are, if you're a real estate agent, if you're a mortgage guy, whatever it is that you do, think about this. If you will walk into your local businesses, and what my recommendation is once a week, and I say 50 weeks a year, but let's say you're lazy and you can only do 40 weeks a year. Once a week, go in, actually twice a week, go in to one separate business. So you're going into two businesses a week, and I would recommend doing this 50 times a year. And you're going to interview and talk to that local business, whether it be a pizza shop, whether it be a dry cleaners, whatever it may be. And what you're going to do is you're going to walk in and say, hey, can I interview you on video just for 3 minutes and find out who you are, what it is, and why you picked dry cleaning in Cypress, Texas? They're always going to say yes.
Right. It's free advertising.
You do, make sure you've got good audio, make sure you've got good video, make sure you've got good lighting, all of those things. You don't want this to look like the Blair Witch Project, because nobody has ever asked to advertise them to an audience at no cost. Turn the camera on. I do recommend rehearsing. I rehearse every time before I ever go on stage. It could be for 30 minutes. It could be for hours, but I rehearse every single time. So go in, rehearse. Know what to do whenever they get caught up on an answer, when they get frozen, whatever that is. Know what to do. Know what to work with. Go in and say, and ask them, interview them. Why is this? And how do you do this? And where did this come from? And were you born filthy rich, or did you have to scrape to save up the money to buy this dry cleaners? And find out what that is. Now, if you'll do this twice a week for 50 weeks a year, you now have 100 salespeople working for you, because nobody has ever come in and introduced this dry cleaner to their audience on social media ever, or this pizza shop, or this mechanic shop, or tire shop, or whatever it may be. Nobody's ever done that. And then I like carrying it a little bit farther. I like getting the little acrylic table placards with my QR code on it, so people can walk in. Everybody, we won't write down our name and our cell phone number and our email address to save our life. It is not going to happen. I know what you're going to do. You're going to send me spam email every freaking day, but we will run this across a QR code every single time we see one. So by that, you're getting in organic leads every single day on top of that business owner promoting you. So that's one of the things. The next thing I'm going to go over and talk about is, so when you're putting your content together, there's two basic strategies that I like when we're putting together content for somebody who wants to be, theoretical Facebook famous, one of those kind of things. Mm-hmm. So in that, figure out what it is that you're going to do, what it is about you, and let's build content out. And instead of thinking about it one time today at 1:30, posting a picture of the enchiladas I had for lunch and hoping I can get business off of it, let's figure out what this is in a campaign. So maybe it is all of the places that I stop to and from or during my work week. Maybe it's the gas station. Maybe it's the coffee shop. Maybe it's the restaurant, whatever that may be. And that's going to be part of my content. Right now, and it has been for about 3 years now, short form video is hitting harder than anything else in the world. Start making short form video, 27 to 58 seconds long. Put it as an MP4 on your phone. Upload it organically to each one of the sites individually. And if you can show consistency with this, the algorithms will put you in front of more people than you've ever been in front of before, because they need consistent data. They need a consistent stage to sell ads on. And if this is you, you will win. What I tell people to do anytime I do a seminar, anytime I do any kind of speaking from stage, go out right now. And if you need help, I will help you. If you don't want my help personally, go to ChatGPT. Type in, give me the top 20 things that people want to see in Cypress, Texas. If only 10 of the 20 work, it's still free. Put it out. Now, go film 10 videos, 27 to 58 seconds long, and you have 2 weeks worth of material to post every single day. You've shown consistency to Pavlov's dog. You've shown consistency to the system that is promoting you and putting you in front of more people. And the algorithm picks that up and it knows that it can rely on you. So there's two takeaways. If you'll follow those two starting today, it will change your complete social media life.
Yeah, 100%. And if you're struggling for ideas, like you mentioned, ChatGPT is a great tool to help get you past the blank canvas issue. Also, as you're scrolling through social and you see other, like folks who are creating content that's really engaging, and you can see in the metrics like that their content's really taking off, algorithms recognize that piece took off. And if you create a similar piece just with your own flair and your own flavor and your own area, the algorithms are likely to boost that in front of folks as well.
Yeah, look at some of these people that have just done amazing. I love the one that's the middle-aged woman that reenacts all of the beautiful models and their poses. And we just laugh so hard at that. That's just something we can all relate to, I would be careful of trendy. I would be careful of the scare tactic hooks that you see a lot of people doing. And I would try and be more real to who you are deep down inside, because you can't fake that.
Yeah.
And figure out how to make that work for you at your best.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, people can sniff out inauthenticity pretty quickly. That's why a lot of right now, it's actually algorithms of past few weeks, few months have been serving up a lot more just people talking in front of the camera with no edits, because it's recognizing that people like and appreciate the authenticity that comes from a video that's unedited. Yep. The ums, the uhs, it's all natural, but we're human beings. That's what we do. The consistency thing, though, that you talk about, if you're consistent and constantly creating content, then you'll get past the ums and the uhs, and you'll become a lot more comfortable in front of the camera, in front of the microphone, and your consistency will deliver high engaging content that will also it'll increase in quality over time, and the algorithms will continue to serve you up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it wasn't 20, 22 years ago when all of a sudden I got thrown up on stage and I had to speak in front of 4,500 loan officers, and I was scared to death. And the more that I did it, and the more that I realized that, they can't eat you, that it was easier and you get better every single time. And I look back, going up on stage is one thing, then filming it is a complete different thing. When I first started filming, and that was only about a decade ago, I had, luckily, knock on wood, I had the privilege of Frank Gray and Brian Stevens teaching me how to do video. And if you look back on some of my first videos, they were as horrible as those Texas lawyer ads, have you been hurt in a car wreck? I mean, horrible.
In pain, call Shane.
Oh, yes, it was horrible. And what I get a kick out of now is I can talk about anything on stage, on camera, anything that anybody wants me to, and I get a kick out of it. My business partner will do this to me quite often when I'm getting interviewed to be like keynote speaker or something. We had two of those calls today. My business partner will say, he can talk about anything you want him to. And they're like, yeah, really, Bo? I guess that some people have a hard time. And she said, Johnny, talk about blue. And I can go into a 30-minute conversation and make you think why blue is so important. And so I guess the motto of that is the more you do it, the better you'll get, even if it's only in your head that you're better than you were the day before. It's like Brian Stevens used to tell me, the very first video you ever do is going to be the worst one you've ever done in your life. The second one you ever do is going to be the second worst video you've ever done in your life, and it just gets better from there.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things that I try to encourage listeners to do all the time is, you mentioned having a campaign, thinking about a campaign, coming up with a little bit of a plan before you get started. But the biggest challenge is like we get in our own minds and, put up our own barriers to getting started. And we prevent our own ability to succeed because we think, well, I look silly in front of camera. I don't like the way I look, or, we come up with all these different reasons. The best thing you could do is just get started. Create a video and just show yourself. Even if you don't publish that one, it's not that bad. Like, you could do it. And then from there, you just get better and better, like you're saying.
100%. One of my favorite sayings in this whole world is done by that guy who was like 7 feet tall, hands that big, very, very talented on stage, named Tony Robbins. Yeah. And he will tell you that we're all working with this 2,000-year-old operating system that told us to run away from saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah.
And the lies that it's telling you are complete bullshit. You can't listen to those things. One of the things in some of the coaching classes and things that I do is, you've got to overcome that. Don't tell me you're going to start doing video as soon as you get the perfect camera and the perfect background and the perfect computer and the perfect microphone. Turn this freaking thing around backwards, get a lapel mic, and hit the red button.
Yeah, everybody's got one, and you have it wherever you are. So if you see something interesting, if you feel inspired, take the shot, like record the video and post it. Like, it's surprising, what little things can do to help build momentum in the right direction.
And if we'll stop thinking of content as a job and we'll start thinking of our surroundings as being content, it makes things a lot easier. When people say, go get content, make campaigns, and they get all freaked out about what to do, and then they pass 43 things driving to the grocery store that would be perfect for film, just do it. One of the things I love the ignorance of some of the street signs. there's one that used to be in my area. They actually put up a sign that said no signs allowed to be posted on the street. And then everybody in the world would use that post, that physical post, to tape their garage sale signs or their swimming lesson signs. And to me, that's gold. Gold.
Yeah.
You can't pass that content up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Who are some folks that, or it could be individuals, it could be brands that you think are doing social really, really well?
Man, I don't try and boost anybody up and say, follow this person. I want you to follow your own. What I will say is there is no one in this world that knows social media better than Gary Vaynerchuk. No ifs, ands, or buts.
100%. Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Agree with you.
I'm not a fan of a number of the people who try and be, or the guy from Florida. I'm not a fan of, so there's a lot of people doing a lot of content and getting a lot of views and, things like that. What I would recommend is sitting down, and I tell people this all the time. Write down things that you like. Write down 10 things you like on a legal pad. Go search for them on YouTube. Go search for them on TikTok. Go search for them on Facebook. And find people that are putting out content about things that you enjoy and follow that. Look and see what it is. I don't like the idea of people saying that you need to follow Dan Habib. I love Dan Habib. Dan Habib is my adopted son. But Dan Habib doesn't make any sense to people who don't know about real estate, mortgage, or crypto. So it's very difficult for people to understand, when you do. I love, one of my great friends, Mike Ferrasi, that we were talking about earlier, doesn't have the view count that so many people that are Facebook famous have, but the information and the content that he puts out there and the way that he explains it is second to none. Letting people know that there are videos for views and there are videos for business. And I love that saying. There is a massive difference. If you want video for views, do like America's Funniest Home Videos and let somebody kick you between the legs. If you want to teach somebody how to become a millionaire, multimillionaire through real estate, that's a much smaller audience that will actually follow through and pay attention to it. But the content is so much greater.
100%. Yeah, you can't. It's just like Gary. I listen to the Gary V podcast pretty often in the morning, like while I'm working out, just to see if there's any new insights that I can get from a marketing standpoint. And he does talk a lot about, like, you can't hold yourself to the standards of what other people are doing. In many instances, it may not be realistic, or we hear all the time about how people just present themselves on social media. It's not accurate portrayal of reality. But I always try to give people the guidance of, hey, you have a baseline of the engagement and the metrics that you're able to generate with your own content. Use that as your baseline and then improve from there, because you're not busy comparing yourself to everybody else who may have a much larger audience, who may have more dollars they're putting behind their paid side. There's so many different things that make it an unequal playing field. Just compare to yourself and improve from there.
There's so many simple things, and what you just said just hit it right on the head. Pay attention to your own analytics. When you change your profile picture and you get 100 people that throw the heart symbol up, that's what they want to see. When you talk about your job and you get 3 people that give you the thumbs up and one of them's mom, that's not really what they want to see. You have to build up to that. So show people, the number 1 viewed pictures and videos in this country: cats and kittens, number 1, dogs, number 2, children, number 3, animals, number 4. Nobody in there ever said anything about Bitcoin or stock market.
Yeah.
So what we want is we want the outcome. We want the solution. We want the realization without doing the work. And if you'll read your own analytics and look and see what humans want and what we interact with and what we can relate to, that's something that is very powerful that will help you in the design of your campaigns.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You talked a little bit earlier about creating content that you like, following what you like. And one of the things that I understand about your background is that you used to like to do MMA.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
How many years did you fight for?
So it back then, and I don't know if you remember back then. So I
remember UFC 1.
Okay, then perfect. Before then, so where I started was when Dan Severn, Hoist Gracie, Ken Shamrock, when those guys were the names. And you had to go to the adult section of the video store to rent those.
Yes.
I was the typical kid that had, they put me with ADD when I was in third grade. Had an attention problem. Would do what I wanted to do. If I got bored in class in fourth grade, I would get up and leave and go across the street to the Stop and Go and play video games, things like that. So I got put into martial arts at a very young age to teach me discipline. And that's really what I needed guidance. I didn't need to be beaten. I just needed, if I'm not going to do this, what do I focus on? So I started at a very young age. In Texas, back then, UFC, at the age of 18, you were considered an adult male. And if you weighed 180 pounds or more, you were considered adult male heavyweight. So I was big. My fighting weight was like 196 to 204. And I fought adult male heavyweight. And we did what was the Texas Tough Man contests. Back then, and did a little bit of traveling to a few states, things like that. So if you look at that point, then I fought from 18 to 27.
Wow.
And I will tell you this, and this may mean something to you because you mentioned UFC 1. My greatest fear was never fighting the big mouth. The guy who's wanting to make trouble is always the least guy who's going to ever bring trouble. My greatest fear, and I don't want to say it almost happened, but there was a chance in my life where it was going to happen, was to go in the ring against Butterbean.
Oh,
and it was in Mississippi.
Knock people out. Yeah.
I would never walk away from a fight in my life, but I'm telling you right now, I would have walked away from that one. It's not worth getting brain damage in Mississippi trying to get back home to Houston, Texas with a $500 medical deductible that I got to pay when I get there.
Yeah. Plus you weren't going to win that much money if you did.
No, I did this for fun and for a release. That guy did it for a paycheck.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I thought it might be fun to, for our guests, we create AI images. So I wanted to show you in the ring winning your first UFC fight. That's Johnny Couture right there.
The best I ever got was about 11% body fat. So that picture of that dude at 4%, that ain't me.
That dude is trim. It's so fun. Yeah, AI.
I will tell you, at 194 to 206, I had a 50-inch chest, 18 and a half inch arms, and I was benching 465.
Holy cow. That's incredible. That is a Texas boy right there.
I was a brawler. I was not a cerebral fighter. I was a brawler.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, awesome. But before we let you go, I want to give you a chance to shout out, how do folks follow you, follow your brand?
Best thing to do is find me on social media. I mainly stay where the largest group is. So that's going to be Facebook. 240 million people are on Facebook, but you can find me on any of the systems out there. Jonathan Fowler. I go by Jonny, Jonny. You can go to johnnyfowler.com. You can find me there. You can send me an email, johnny@johnnyfowler.com. My phone number, 281-352-7307. That is my real cell phone number. It's not a Google number. It will ring directly to my phone.
Calling you now. No.
Do it.
You're fine. That's a bold move, though, putting the number out there.
I don't. It's perfectly fine. If somebody calls and wants to be a jackass, there's this thing called blocks. But I am so easy to find, so easy to get a hold of. I'm a massive QR code fan, so if you want, we'll send you my QR code to have all my information, whatever we can do. But I'm here to help your audience, you guys. Anything that I can do, I'm here.
Very cool. We'll put all his links in the comments so you guys can click through and connect with Jonny. Great content. He mentioned being on other podcasts. He's on countless other podcasts. So check him out. Follow him. He's got almost 30,000 followers just on LinkedIn alone. So he's connected with a lot of folks and creating awesome content all the time. So
worth a follow for sure. Can I tell you something funny about that?
Yeah.
So there's a friend of mine in Virginia. His name is Dwayne Jenkins. And I don't know if you know Dwayne or not, but he goes by Credit Quando.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that I got the biggest kick out of is he said one time, I don't care about the 30,000 people on LinkedIn that follow you. I don't care about the 30,000 people on Facebook that follow you. How in the hell did you get 212 people to follow you on Eventbrite? And I've taken that one with I love that. That's the funniest shit in the world. So I just had to throw that out there because it's funny.
Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome. Thanks again for joining us. To those who are listening, Jonny, thank you so much for coming into the lab. Tons of insights. Appreciate it.
Anything I can ever do for you, let me know.
You bet. As always, thanks for joining us in the Local Marketing Lab. This podcast is brought to you by Evocalize. To learn how Evocalize can help you grow your business, visit evocalize.com. If you learned something new from today's episode, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook at Evocalize. That's EVOCALIZE. And on X at Evocalize Inc. And remember, keep innovating and trying new things. You never know what's going to connect with your audience until you try. And until next time, thanks for listening.